Hello everyone, welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. And today we're going to be talking about the Rugby Pass articles list that has everybody talking, and that is their top 100 best rugby players, basically. And it's been quite a contentious topic because the problem with trying to create a list like this is the diversity of rugby players in terms of how you're comparing a prop to a fullback, to a centre, to a flank, to a lock, to a scrum half. And it's very difficult to try and put them on the same sort of level. But they have attempted to build a list of the top 100 best players in the world. And they finally released, the top 10, which is sort of the one that everyone was eagerly waiting for. So we're just going to go through the top 10 so we see. Now, first of all, I think, a list like this is always going to be contentious, isn't it? Because no one's ever going to, first of all, agree on the top 100. And the problem with rugby being a sport where, quite often anything else, there's 23 players that will play throughout the game. There are a lot of rugby players in and around the world. And there's obviously going to be a lot of club bias, going to be a lot of nations bias. So no one's ever going to be happy with this. But whilst I think there's so much wrong with the list in terms of players who I think are far too far down, a couple of players who are far too far, I think the top 10 is not terrible. I think, based on the last year, I think a lot of players there who you would agree are probably currently within the top 10 best players in the world. But we're just going to go through the list, and I'm interested to see what you guys think down in the comments below. I think a list like this is never going to be right. I don't think you can ever put it down to just creating 100 players and deciding especially in order who are the best. That this guy is 79 but this guy's 80 and this guy edges that for that reason. But it's a fun thing to do. It is always a fun thing to do. Try and create a list like this. It's a bit like team of the seasons and team of the weeks and stuff like that. It's difficult to do, but it's fun to do. And people enjoy being able to debate that and be able to sort of use it. And it's a good opportunity to sort of in terms of the longevity of rating somebody's careers, you sort of see where they were and how often they were rated and how often they were playing their some of their best rugby. Without any further ado, let's go take a look. And it starts, they're ranking at 10 to 1. And the first player we're going to be looking at is Will Jordan, who has had a bit of a breakthrough year. I mean, he was named the World Breakthrough Player of the Year, 23 years old, only 13 test caps. And, you look at it and you think, to say he's the 10th best rugby player in the world is a big statement. It is a very big statement for someone who a year ago was not playing test rugby. So, again, it's difficult to sort of sit there saying, for someone who's obviously had a fantastic start, fair play, on form, maybe he is within the top 10 best players in the world, but it's a massive call to make on someone who's only had played 13 tests, to then go and claim that he's the 10th best player in the world. A lot of these players obviously have also been nominated for the World Player of the Year, which kind of suppose makes helps the rugby pastors justify their selection. Moving on to number 9, Mario Itoje. Now, a lot of English fans are probably quite upset that he's so far down. I think that he had, in terms of the last year, and if we're looking on form, because I'm going to sort of base this on form, I don't think we can just sit this and say these are the 10 best players currently active. You got to do it in form, and the players who are playing their best rugby. Now, I thought Mario Itoje had a very up and down year. I thought he had some very good moments. I thought he had some very average moments. Obviously, the Six Nations, he was very poor. Then he was probably the best British and Irish Lions player across that tour, and was pretty good towards the end of the season. So, look, I think 9th is about right. A lot of English players have been sort of talking about him as the best player in the world. And I'm not sure I'd go that far. But, I think I probably would say he's probably within the top 10. The first South African on the list is Kanya who comes in at number 8, which obviously is a bit of bias because obviously we're South African, but I do believe that he's within the top 10 best players in the world. I do think that this year, he is just taking his game to another level, and there's just nothing he can do. The way he reads the game, his defense is so good. He is so creative on attack. He is so clever in the way he plays. He absolutely has everything. If you want to build a perfect center, I'm not sure what you would want to put into his game that he does not already have. I think that's probably the biggest thing, is that whatever you'd want in a center, if you're building the perfect 13, he pretty much ticks every single box that you would have in building teams. So I'm happy with him to be there. Remain Intermac. Now, this is the one that's gotten everybody upset because people are starting talking about, is he even the best fly half in the world? Some people are saying he's not even the best fly half in France, which is not a criticism to Remain Intermac, but Mathieu Jalibert is also a very special player. Now, I think that I think that Intermac's probably a bit too high. I think that he's a terrific player on his day. I think on his day he is an incredible rugby player. Is he better than Lakanya? I probably wouldn't say so. I think that he's on his way to become a superstar, and I think that he could potentially, if he keeps playing like he does, could go down as one of France's best ever fly halves, and they've had some very good fly halves in their past. But it's again, it's so difficult to sort of rank these players. What's interesting is the age of the players so far. We got Lakanya is 28, so he's in the peak of his powers, and so is Mario Toji at 27. But Will Jordan at 23, and now Intermac at 22. Pretty young players to be sort of claiming that they're the best player in the world, which sort of shows you the amount of talent that they potentially have going forward. Moving into number 6, Artie Severe. Now, you can't argue Artie Severe isn't within the top 10 best players in the world. I think that he could very well have been up for World Player of the Year. I think that he was absolutely terrific. And I think that the captaincy has only helped him when he did captain New Zealand a couple of times. He's taken on so much responsibility, and he's become, the talisman within that New Zealand pack, which at times has not been as strong as you'd imagine the New Zealand pack to be. But he has been an absolute unit for them. And Carrie Strong, he's a very exciting player. He's very good on defense, and he's just grown a leap and bounds this year. Number 5, Michael Hooper. You can't argue Michael Hooper. I think that the Australians were just carried by him throughout the entire year. He's 30 years old, so he's starting to get into his, the twilight stages of his career as he moves into his 30s. But with that experience, he's just not slowing down. He's terrific at the breakdown. He's actually very good with ball in hand. He's a very clever player, and he makes a lot of tackles. And he's just been sort of dragging the Wallabies in many ways through many a game this year. And I was very impressed with what he had to do. Obviously, the Wallabies started to play a little bit better towards the end of the year. I do think that their season has been severely overrated. I think the fact that Dave Rennie, I think, got nominated for Coach of the Year is a bit farcical when you think that they struggled to beat a French side missing most of their stars. So they basically got nominated for all the plaudits for beating the Springboks twice. That's basically what they got rewarded for. Number 4, Ty Furlong, which a lot of Irish fans will enjoy. And I think it's good to see a prop get within the top 10, especially at tight end, whose role is very underrated. Now, Ty Furlong is someone who, the level that he's managed to sort of keep pushing up has been pretty incredible. I don't think anybody 5 years ago would have said that Ty Furlong would have been ranked 4th best player in the world by Rugby Pass or something like that. But he is a phenomenal prop. He's probably the best. He's easily the best tight end in the world. But I think the biggest thing is that he's actually brought a lot more to his game than just a very good scrummager. He's very solid around the park. He's even got a decent offload game. I think he's added a lot of skills into his game, which has just made him the complete package. And I think that he's 58 to cast for Ireland. I think he's got plenty more to go. He can go for another 3, 4, 4, 5 years, I reckon. And just the level he's managed to take it up is pretty sensational, actually. Now, number 3, a lot of Springbok fans will be happy against Sia Khaleesi, which is ironic because going into the British and Irish Lions test, people were talking about the fact that he is only making the team because he is captain, and he's only making the team because of transformation. And he then went on to be arguably the Springboks' best player the entire year. He was absolutely incredible in 2021. I've never seen him play such good rugby. He was just dropping 10 out of 10 performances week in, week out, week in, week out. And the ironic thing is that, he said it himself. He said he needs to play games to start getting back to his best, and he hadn't played a lot of games because he struggled with an injury. But he started getting games under his belt, and the more games he played, the better he got. And I thought that he was absolutely pivotal to the Springbok success of the year. They did a successful year. They finished number 1. And a fellow Springbok and a very good friend of Sia Khaleesi comes in at number 2, Emily Etzebeth, the enforcer. Now, Toulon might have come out and said, President Toulon might have come out and said that he's been a liability and a terrible signing, but there are worse things in the world than having, what can be considered the second best rugby player in the world. He was always going to be a special player for the Springboks. I think we knew very early that he was going to play a lot of caps. The fact that he's going to make his 100th cap, so young in his career, he's 30 years old at the moment, 3 caps shy of making his 100, so he could do it against Wales, who plays all 3 matches. But by the end of 2022, he will be a Centurion. People knew he was going to be a special player, but I don't think people expected him to become as good as he has become. He is probably going to retire as South Africa's best ever lock. That's a huge statement to make because you've got Victor Matfield and Bucky Boerto, who were so good for so long. But, I think he's going to retire with about 130-odd, 140-odd test caps and been one of the most consistent Springbok players for the last decade. So, I don't think you could really argue. Now, somebody who I wouldn't argue being in the top 10, but the number 1, a little bit skeptical, is Antoine Dupont. Now, the reason I say that is because I think that Dupont 2020, towards the end of 2020 and stuff like that, and the Six Nations, I thought he was playing sensational rugby. But in terms of the international games he played for France, I don't think he was actually at his best last year. I think that he has a lot of room for growth. At 25 years old, he's coming into his own. Look, on his day, I've said it many times. On his day, he probably is the best player in the world in terms of how easy he makes rugby look. You know, he assists tries for fun. He scores tries for fun. So, you know, he's got a very good delivery. He's got everything you'd want in a scrum half and more. But I do think that he wasn't as good as he could have been in 2021. I think we can see another level of Antoine Dupont. So the biggest thing, I suppose, when it comes to a top 10 is, you know, if they had just sort of ranked them in no particular order, I don't think too many people would probably complain. Obviously, a couple of players people would then say, you know, why isn't he in here? Why isn't he in here? But in terms of actually giving them a particular ranking and saying Dupont is the best player in the world, Everett's best, second best player in the world, that's always going to create a lot of stir. Which is why I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. What do you think of this list? Do you agree with the list? Do you not agree? I agree with about 80% of the list. I think about 8 out of 10 players here are very much deserved. Will Jordan and Romain Intermac are probably the two question marks I have. So let me know if you agree with that. You know, and if you do, which players would you add to the top 10 that you don't think were listed here? If you don't think Antoine Dupont is the best player in the world, who do you think is the best player in the world? Let me know down in the comments below. And do smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven, and I'll chat to you guys very soon.